Well, hello there. Welcome to the OB Foreign Alliance. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luke, and we're the YouTube channel that offers unbiased opinions from two different perspectives. That is someone on the autism spectrum and someone who is not. And if you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. What are we doing today, Jacob?
We are reviewing the Dropout, what is on Disney Plus.
Yes, so this is a show that I was recommended by a friend who'd listened to the podcast and then watched the show and then told me I should watch it, and I've recommended it to you. So the show is a true story about a character named Elizabeth Holmes who started up a company called Theranos, who in America people would probably know more about, but here in Australia was something I hadn't heard of prior to seeing this. Basically, she was a prodigy that got into Stanford. She dropped out of Stanford because she came up with this idea that you could test with a single drop of blood for a whole bunch of diagnostic and diseases, but they could diagnose for different diseases. And unfortunately, her invention was not really possible, but she managed to fool the world and sell it to so many people, and it became a multi-billion-dollar company. And this follows the story of corruption and lies and the things they did to achieve this. It has a pretty all-star cast. The main character played by Amanda Seyfried, the secondary main character Sonny, who's played by a gentleman who you said that was in Lost.
Yeah.
Dylan Minetti also features in it, who's famous from 13 Reasons Why. We also got William C. Macy, who's from one of my favorite shows, being Shameless, and just the list of stars just continue on through this show. So being a true story, as I said, we've got it's the story of corruption and how this company came to eventually cease to exist, and there's still an ongoing court case. So that's about all you really need to know that happens in the show without giving away what happens. Is there anything you want to add to it before we get into our scores?
Yeah, how I would describe it, it's the rise and fall of someone that had so much potential, but unfortunately had the opportunity, but she had to prove people wrong, and that's what happened. Yeah,
and she somehow managed to convince people with more knowledge and power than her to believe what she had to say. And it's let's put it this way: if the story wasn't true, you wouldn't believe it was true. So it's actually cool, really interesting for the sake of it. So let's move into our scores. What did you give this show?
I gave the Dropout a 76% out of 100. I think it's definitely worth watching if you love true stories. I think the acting is amazing, entertaining. It does a lot of things right. I just felt like, unfortunately, the ending was, for me anyway, a major letdown, but there's a court case still going on, but still they could have done it in a better way, and there was still, like Luke said, if this was a true story, it would be absolute, why would people do this? So for me, I still enjoyed the show, but there's still things that you go, why would you listen to this person that dropped out of university and still hasn't got any credibility? But she's an excellent scammer, so we'll trust what she says, even though she has no ethics. So excellent show, would highly recommend it, and I think it is worth your time.
Yeah, so I've gone with slightly higher. I got a 79% after we did our rating system. Again, I think the ending is what let it down.
We both agree on that.
Yeah, it's a true story, and I do like how it ended, but I just felt the show was really heavy towards the beginning, and then the end part where things started to happen, it just kind of skipped it. And yes, the court cases are still pending, but I think there could have been another episode and some more content added to about the downfall of the company that just skipped that for me. And I wanted to find out a bit more about that. So that's the only thing that really let it down. Other than that, every episode suspense was building. You wanted to know what happened. Amanda Seyfried played this character very well. I've gone since and seen photos and videos of the actual Elizabeth Holmes, and She did a very, very good job of playing this character. But again, I don't understand how she convinced these people, and I don't doubt it. The show didn't convince me as to how she did it. Like, she was either very manipulative, very smart, or she offered something else, but the show lacked that gap, or maybe the writers themselves can't understand it either. Maybe she was just lucky. Like, maybe it was just so many coincidences. Maybe I'm going to have to watch and listen to the podcast to fully understand a bit more about it, because I believe they interview people that were involved in it, so there might be a bit more explanation. But entertaining, definitely worth a watch. Just, somewhat of a letdown towards the end. That's really all I have to say about it. Let's move into some spoilers and talking a bit more in depth about the show. Have you got any questions or burning topics you want to bring up?
I guess the big one is that, do you often ask yourself how things would have been different if she actually stayed in uni?
Yeah, we've had this conversation off screen. If she was, considering how smart she was and she was able to make an impact at a young age at Stanford in graduate programs, if she actually completed her studies, what difference she could have made in the world. And, she's kind of now a bit of a waste. She's going to, go to jail possibly for 20 years and leave a young family behind. It's kind of sad where, maybe she could have made this invention for real if she had the qualifications and education behind her, or maybe even invented something else. She could have cured cancer. We really don't know, but she's now, seen as a fraudster and going to jail for a long time.
And made it worse for other females.
Yeah, definitely. They said in that it's a lasting impact in Silicon Valley, that female CEOs are constantly impacted and looked down upon because of what she's done. They find it hard to trust them or find them credible, which is quite sad. Any other questions or topics you want to bring up?
Well, did you believe that she was able to convince investors in the board after actually them not seeing the product? That's what I question. Wouldn't you, as an investor, wanting to invest in a company, it's like myself, I came up with a great invention, but I could never get it running. It's like, you have the power of the money. Wouldn't you want to see if the invention works? But she always had an excuse for the people not seeing it, and I just found it really hard to believe that people were so gullible.
I think people must have just came to trust her or wanted to believe in the product she had. I think she also got a bit lucky. I think the main man in charge at Walgreens was maybe a bit, silly and wanted to make rash decisions and didn't really want to do the hard work and investigate what happened. There was, I could only explain it with luck. I think she just had a lot of luck that went her way for many, many years. And I think people wanted her to be correct. And when she's on TV and they're like, this female's done this and she's going to change the world, people just believed what they had seen. And, they gave her money without question because they're like, well, she's on the news, so it must be true. And I don't think it's something that will happen again. I don't think people could get away with such a scam. But I would like to know more whether, was she intending to do good and not scamming, but she just got so deep in the lie that she continued? Or did she really believe that they did what they were achieving, and even though they're giving out false results, they're like, yeah, but that's what we're doing. We've created this invention. Or eventually did she become greedy and it was about money? I'd like to know that, because she had a good heart and good intention, but it seemed like money took over in the end. And maybe I would have liked to have seen the show do that a bit more.
Yeah.
Because they kind of skipped to them having fancy cars and a big mansion. I would have liked to have seen how that came about and actually how they made money off this business.
Did you notice in the beginning with how the invention worked in the beginning with the green light, and then when they were actually at the event, it didn't work? Well, why do you think it worked at the beginning and then suddenly it just didn't work? Do you think it was a faulty positive and then the thing actually didn't work? Or?
I think it probably never worked. It just happened to that one time. read something, but who even knows that the results it was giving out were correct? Like, it was probably like, yes, we read the blood. Oh yeah, you don't have cancer, but who actually knows if that results was correct, or whether it just, read the blood and just spat out anything? Like, it's actually baffling that it could have got even that far. You think how hard it is to invent something and start a company. You'd want to think you'd have to have it up and working before you could even employ people, it's very, very corrupt, evil company. And for you, besides the main character, was there anyone that stood out for you that you think that did a really good job, or was like a really interesting part of the story?
Definitely the act out of 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah, I agree. I really like him. I was heading more, for me, I thought the lawyer that worked for him, I thought it was a really interesting, that she was, all about, sign these NDAs, do this. And was she the most evil of them all? Like, she knew the company's secrets, but was trying to scare people out of revealing the truth. So, that was a really interesting role for me, and I'd like to know about where she is now in her real life, and whether she faces legal consequences for kind of intimidating people into not telling the truth. Yeah.
Where do you see the court case going? Because Elizabeth's home has it in September.
I think they'll probably throw the book at her, and she'll get pretty harsh punishment because...
Oh, you think she'll get the full 20 years?
I don't know about the full 20, but she'll get something bad, jail term probably, but she'll get as bad... Like, when they say a maximum 20, they don't often give out the maximum. So she'll get the realistic maximum, but obviously I don't know enough about the legal system, what that would be, but given that she'd hurt, and probably some people may have died from the false results her test was giving out, that's pretty bad stuff. And then obviously the amount of money and she'd taken off people. I think the fact that she put people's lives at risk is why I think she'll get a pretty harsh punishment. You take money from people, sometimes they go, well, it's money, it can be replaced, but you take someone's life away, the punishment's got to be pretty severe.
And I think the actress that played Elizabeth Holmes did an excellent job with portraying someone that was actually like that.
Yeah, I think Amanda Seyfried's acting performance was excellent. She had all the mannerisms and the quirkiness that Elizabeth Holmes had from what I saw in videos, and she did a really good portrayal of that.
Do you think Elizabeth Holmes was a manipulator? Do you think she was on the autism spectrum? She's an interesting human being.
She may have been. They kind of indicated that she had some interesting mannerisms to her and things when she was a little girl. Manipulator, obviously, I don't know if that was her original intent, or maybe she was just really sweet and people believed what she had to say. But she didn't come across inspiring. You see some leaders that, they inspire people to do things.
Obama.
Yeah, or... Yeah, that's a decent example. There's plenty of other people. They inspire people to want to do something. She didn't come across that way, yet her company was convincing people to be part of something that they kind of knew wasn't corrupt. They knew was corrupt. So, she didn't come across to me like, a Steve Jobs or anyone like that, but she somehow was, So I don't know if there's something I'm missing there, or how she managed to convince so many people of her mission, or purely they wanted to believe it. Like, if we came out tomorrow and it's like, we've invented this cure for cancer, people might want to believe it's real, so they'll get behind it because we want this to be true so badly, but they ignore the fact that it's not true in hope that it is.
And also, Sonny, did you buy that he was able to come up with a company himself and then was that rich, and then, I don't know, we didn't really get much backstory on him?
Yeah, I felt that was quite skipped. He supposedly had, I think he invested $30 million, so he obviously had a bit of money. I'd also like to know what happened there. Like, she was quite probably underage when they first met,
Wasn't she 18 or 19?
Yeah, something like that. And there's a few things with that. and you know they kind of played him off as being somewhat of a nice good guy, but then quickly turned him into the bad guy, and then revealed that he'd gotten lots of trouble afterwards. But there wasn't enough as to where that would have came from. Was he really vicious in his last company, and was he corrupt? Like, there's stuff that I think that kind of background would have served a good purpose into understanding his character a bit more.
So final thoughts, do you think this would be one of the best limited series that you've seen?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Whether one of the best, I don't know. There's a lot of good limited series out there, but as a fan of limited series, I think it's a must watch. But
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Was it one of the best? Maybe not. But I think anyone that likes a limited series and a true story, it's a must watch, really.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say if you're into, like I said, rise and fall storylines about someone that had good intentions and then either became too misguided in their own ways and just lost it and become too greedy and didn't care about people, and then we got to see the aftermath of the neighbor as well, putting in his money, and then lost his wife, and a lot of people were affected.
Yeah, that would have been nice to see a bit more of that, and even a bit more of a story about the writer. So just little things, I think, extend the series a bit longer, add a bit more content, would have, made this go from, a mid 70% score to, like a high 80 with just a few little changes, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching my YouTube channel from two different perspectives. Like and subscribe. Have a good rest of your day. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.